Today, I am going to give you some advice you do not hear very often from a coach. So, I'm actually pulling today's content straight from a training inside of my group coaching program because we're working on right now this prospect to client process. And here's what happens. You sit down to map out just one step in your process, just one, and you realize, oh man, I need a welcome email. I need a meeting agenda. I need a post meeting follow up email. I want AI to help customize that follow up. I probably need to prep a checklist for my team, maybe some templates or documents or collateral. And then all of a sudden, one step turns into 7 projects. And that's the moment where most people do nothing. It's so easy to get stuck in overwhelm when you're building something like that out. So let me give you some advice you probably don't hear from a business coach very often. I want you to think smaller, like uncomfortably small, because one of the biggest things I see, especially with really smart, super capable advisors, is that you think too big. What does the best version of this thing look like start to finish? If it were the greatest thing ever. And then if you're like me, you stall out, right? You get stuck in that minutia and you can't figure out how to take action because it feels so big. So I want to reframe that. Here's the shift that I want you to make. The goal, it's not to go from 0 to 100. And as you know, here at the Efficient Advisor, we rate your processes on a scale of 1 to 5. And the goal, it's never to go from a 1 to 5. The goal is to move up 1 to 2 slots, a 1 to a 2 or a 3 to a 4. That's it. Process change is actually really hard. And if you try to change too much too quickly, it usually doesn't stick. It just doesn't go over well because the advisor who actually implements the one thing is always going to beat the advisor who plans to get 7 things done, right? The thinking smaller idea or the thinking smaller framework looks something like this. So for example, in your prospect to client process, you're building out each step. And each step, when thought out properly, has a lot of moving pieces. So let's take, for example, gathering data. You might think, okay, here's all of the things that I need. I need a pre-data gather meeting email for the client. Okay, I also need a how-to video showing them how to upload documents to my portal. I also need a precise FP worksheet to help them digitally gather data. I need a system for said data going into Asset Map or MoneyGuide Pro or whatever software you're using. I also need a way to track any missing documents and communicate that to my clients. And maybe I also need a post-meeting follow-up email to set expectations, right? So you're thinking about all these things you need to create and build out. And yes, you will ultimately want to have all of those. But instead of saying, I need to build this entire step out perfectly now, I want you to instead ask yourself, what are the 1 or 2 lowest hanging fruit here? Like, what could I create in 20 minutes? What could I knock out in under an hour that I have set aside to work on implementation? What would make this process just a little bit easier immediately? That's your starting point. Not perfection, not completion, just progress. Otherwise, all we do is we fixate on needing to do all of these things right now, and then you get close to none of them done. You'll freeze at where do I start, or you'll stress about which one to create first. I want you just to pick 2. Maybe choose just 2 of those items that you listed. And I've got examples and samples for you in the template dump. Those might make it the easiest way to have a couple of simple wins. So maybe you're just picking 2 and saying, I'm just going to work on my welcome email and the meeting agenda. Great, done. You've already made the experience better for you and for your client. So here's the important part. You can come back later. This isn't your only shot at building this out. This isn't your only shot at getting it right. If you're watching this in the group coaching program, you know that you have access to all of this content for quite some time, a year after we wrap. And you'll have the alumni community forever. And you'll have access to coming back through the program and doing it again to level it up further. Building processes takes time, and the process that gets you here will not be the process that gets you there. So we're going to do it messy, and we're going to come back and make it fancy later, because messy and done will outperform perfect and unfinished every single time. And this isn't just about your prospect to client process. This is about how you need to be approaching growth in general. There's just so much noise around things like 10-year vision plans and 5-year goals and big sweeping changes. And listen, those things are important. They all have their place. But sometimes you don't need a 10-year vision. You literally need to ask yourself, what is that one right next thing under my nose that I can do today that makes tomorrow easier? So here's your challenge for now, for the rest of this program. I want you to think smaller. Go look at one process in your business, or maybe pick one process that we're working on right now. And I want you to identify everything that can be improved and then ignore most of it. Pick one or two things, do them this week, do it a little messy, and trust that you can come back and make them better later. You can do the other items because that's how real progress actually happens. So think small, pick one or two things, knock those things out. And then as you stumble across other to-dos and tasks, as you're doing them in your business and you're thinking, oh, I should just hit record on Zoom and turn this into an SOP, or, oh, I recreated this email. This time I'm going to save it as a template. I promise it'll get easier, but think smaller. Okay, make this manageable. And that is going to be how you will successfully complete this program, any process that you're trying to build, or literally just how to build your advisory business from the ground up.